Okay, we're going to reconvene from our recess and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the draft of the minutes as included in our materials. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. At this time, I'd like to invite the public to make any comments if you would like. I would just remind you, pursuant to district policy, that if you come to speak to us, please identify yourself. Please keep your comments below 5 minutes. Speak to me directly, not any audience members or other board members. And please refrain from discussing any specific students or staff members.
Before to start, can I ask my fellow board members, please not interrupt the way she was interrupted last time, and let her finish her statement or whatever she's going to read, and then if you want to comment, let her finish before she interrupts.
My name is Susan Harrington. I'm a community member, parent, and friend who cares about the school. And I apologize, I really had meant to miss my comments probably one time, but I do feel that I need to do it one more time to, as I'll tell you in my letter here. I tried to clarify the board's concern about my November address at the last board meeting when I was unexpectedly interrupted, which caused me to be unable to fully explain my position. So I would like to just briefly do that tonight. I remind you that I'm here because I represent others who have the same concerns as I have. My intent is and was to make the school administration reflect on the school procedures and policies so that they are beneficial for all involved. One concern I have is your kind of consistent, defensive, and angry reaction to many who question or subject ideas or suggest ideas, even to your own board members. This makes it seem as if you are hiding or protecting information or activities that should be made public. As far as the fuel pump station concerns, I did seek out information that was similar to the board members who brought up a cost-saving solution to saving money on bus fuel and wear and tear on the buses. I was not aware that the building committee was involved in a fuel station project. I was not disrespecting the board building committee, but rather the amount of money that the architect proposed that it would cost to put in a tank at the bus garage. I did speak to 2 transportation supervisors, Wayne Aiken from Hoosick Valley and Chris Nelson from Stillwater. Both schools have above ground tanks for diesel and gas. Hoosick Valley has expanded to propane using grant money. I certainly hope that if we, certainly pursue a similar project, that maybe we could pursue looking into grants. Hoosick Valley said that their pump cost was about $8,000 to $10,000 done almost 10 years ago, and Stillwater said that theirs cost about $26,000 to $30,000 done in 1999. It just seemed that $190,000 to do either one or two of the above ground tanks was a very high price, and that obviously would be almost quadruple what they had done in previous years. My next concern, which did involve the building committee, was why the school district was in such a rush to push through another building project on December the 3rd. This time of year is when many voters are gone. The weather can be a challenge, and it would not have allowed for much information to be given out to the voters. I'm obviously glad it was postponed for another year, and I do hope that the actual vote will take place at the normal spring time. I'm still concerned that we do not have a budget committee in place, and it will be tabled until next year if we do have one. I'm also concerned that little budget information has been shared up to this date. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, hearing no more public comments at this time, we will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. We move on to superintendent and administrative reports.
I only have a quick update or a reminder that on February 4th, we're going to have a vote to fill the 5th seat. It will be 12 to 8, noon to 8 p.m., as always with the votes, and it will be in the auditorium. We have one candidate at this point, and we still have to have the election because that's how it was set up originally. The other comment I have is the governor released his state aid runs. We have not had a chance to go into detail with any of that at this point, but hopefully at the February 11th meeting, that's our next board meeting, because we usually do the third Tuesday, but next month is the second Tuesday, so that needs to be a reminder as well. We'll have more tentative numbers at that time. And that's it for me, so who would like to go first?
Okay. I have a couple of things that came to me during the past week that did not make it onto my board report, so I'd like to share a couple of things that were not part of my report. We got information today regarding Operation Santa Claus. Between the things that happened from Cambridge Central School and outside organizations, this year Operation Santa Claus was able to provide holiday gifts for 117 children. So that is keeping in pace with years past. And those gifts included not only some fun things for the holidays, but also pajamas, socks, underwear, warm clothes for the winter. Thank you goes out to the staff who contributed, but particularly to the folks who organized that effort. Irene Hedwell, Mary Ledline, and Connie Larrabee are to be commended for their organization and their extreme generosity in giving their time and effort to that cause. Another thing that came in the past week, Talent Unlimited, which is the annual publication that publishes literary as well as fine arts pieces. They had 340 submissions this year. They selected 50 to be published. 9 of those came from Cambridge. We had 8 students who were recognized, some of them Mrs. Duggan students, some of them Mr. Harrington students, but the fact that Cambridge represents nearly 20% of all the selected pieces of artwork for that publication, I think is very noteworthy. The students are Tia Barrier, Emma Chinian, Clayton Harrington actually had 2 pieces selected, Jeremy Hummel, Georgiana Moses, Delaney Smith, Kaylee Woodcock, and Rebecca Young. So I send a congratulations to them and to their teachers because they certainly did Cambridge very proud by representing us so well. Midterms and Regents exams will start next week. They run Monday through Thursday. It's a little confusing because many times they run Tuesday to Friday. So this year the question was, what about Friday? It's a regular school day, so the exams will run Monday through Thursday, some of them being local midterms, some of them being Regents exams. The schedule is on the website, has been mailed home, and is being communicated to students, but Friday is a regular day of classes. Department coordinators and peer evaluators. I know there's some information in the agenda tonight for the peer evaluators, but secondary department coordinators and the peer evaluators are going to be offered the cognitive coaching that Colleen and I and the PSPs went through this past year. It's 8 days of training. The funding comes from the STLA 2 grant. And I think having some more folks in the building with that training, certainly people who are in a leadership position, it will be very helpful to us as we move forward in terms of helping work with colleagues and problem solving and being able to give peers some feedback, especially surrounding APPR. Which would be well received in a non-threatening, no number attached sort of an environment. So that would be, I think, welcomed by many staff members. And the last thing, we're beginning the process of course selections already for the 2014-15 school year. We are looking, departments right now are going through course descriptions, so that handbook will be updated. There may be some additional courses. We're investigating adding 2 UHS courses, so those are 2 college level classes, one in Latin American Studies through SUNY Plattsburgh. It would be a 4-credit course. And Mr. Butts is investigating going through Syracuse University for a global science course. So we may have some additions in a couple of different departments. The Latin American Studies course actually will fulfill the participation in government requirement for seniors, as well as give them some valuable experience in public speaking and having the benefit of the college credit as well. So those are some highlights of things we're hoping to add in the coming year. Any questions?
Could you just say a little bit about the university and the high school? Like, how does it work? I guess you adopt a like a syllabus that they have, and is there interaction with the college?
It's very similar to the AP process in that the syllabus has to be agreed upon between the instructor and the university. We have some UHS classes currently. We have an agreement with Albany for some of our classes. The students can take the class, whether they're applying for just high school credit or they also want the college credit. There's obviously tuition attached. It's a greatly reduced tuition attached to those college credits. And the instructor gets approved by the university, the syllabus gets approved by the university. Depending on the course, the syllabus may be somewhat prescribed by the university, make sure you hit these particular topics, because they try and dovetail it with something that they offer on their campus, so in awarding the credit. Students it's a little bit different than an AP class in the respect that credit is not hinging upon that one exam. As you know, when a student takes an AP exam and receives a score of 1 to 5, sometimes that credit is transferred into a college, sometimes it's not. It's often very dependent on how that student scores on that exam. We're also seeing some colleges not take any AP credits at all. But UHS credits tend to transfer very well, and students, it's more of a credit that's based on a full year's experience rather than a single day exam. So that's an attractive piece for a lot of students who would like to try some college level work, maybe are a little bit intimidated by AP, by the curriculum, or by that one single test, and it gives them a way to get some college credit and get that college experience and have that on their applications, that they're taking a rigorous course load as a junior or a senior by dipping their toe in the water to try some of those classes. Anything else?
Are any of those classes ones that could be offered by our instructors through distance learning?
The little, I guess, caveat of distance learning, if our instructor offers it and we send it out to say, let's say Granville, students in Granville cannot receive college credit for that class. Could they take it as a high school credit? Yes, but the universities will not allow a distance learning credit to a site that's receiving. Our students would be able to get the credit because our instructor would be accredited by them, and our students could get the credit, but someone receiving our class could not get the credit, which is interesting.
Yeah.
If you work with SUNY Adirondack, they do allow, if it's approved, they do allow. So that's some of the issues we've had too. SUNY Adirondack feels like their toes are being stepped on in the past. It could be a University of Albany or Syracuse. If the teacher wanted to go through them, now SUNY Adirondack has to sign off. If they offer a similar class, we have to go through them first for them to sign off, or have to offer it through them if they don't. But the other night, they were talking about being able to do that. SUNY Adirondack does have several courses on distance learning. So they're trying to be more flexible. I don't know if it's going to be. I know these guys are very tough. I can see you all in Syracuse.
Yeah, Syracuse is very, very tight.
I actually want to disagree with you. I don't think, I went to the meeting as well, and I'll be discussing that in my report, but I don't think they're trying to be more flexible. I think they They know they have to be more flexible, and I think they really want to boost their involvement in these courses, but they're, as you'll see by some of the details I'll present, they're really not being that flexible.
But they say they want to work with us and do everything we can, but.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Mr. Butts has been investigating this one science course and gotten very limited response as he's been inquiring with one of the colleges in question. He got in contact with somebody at Syracuse, and they were right on. So some of them, it's just they're more responsive and hungrier for that, for having those students involved and working with our teachers. And some are a little bit slower in the process, and it gets a little frustrating. So some are quick to jump on those opportunities, and some are not. Anything else?
Regional scoring update. In the last several weeks, there was a meeting held at BOCES with 7 districts, including Cambridge, and we're going to be involved in our second year of regional scoring for the New York State assessments for grades 3 through 6. The benefits for us for regional scoring are, right now, teachers can't score their own exams, so we need to bring in other schools or send the test out to have them scored. So 7 districts are involved. It's the second year that BOCES has hosted the regional scoring. I think that some of the problems that we had last year are ironed out. Last year we scored at Granville. This year we will be scoring at Fort Edward, which the teachers are a little bit happier about. And also there's a bit of a break between the tests. Therefore there's a bit of a break between the regional scoring sessions, which are 3 days after the tests. After the tests are administered, then 3 more days the teachers will have to go. 2 teachers from each grade level team for each assessment will have to go to Fort Edward and take part in the scoring. They'll also have to attend a training session, which they attended last year, but they want everybody on the same page. So that's where we're headed with regional scoring. Several of us attended a school safety webinar sponsored by New York State a few weeks ago. I'm imagining that's on your report. And they gave us some basic updates on school safety and changes in New York State. They talked a lot about the financial pieces, how building projects interact with, or how building projects respond to safety updates. And that's Vince's area. Currently, the elementary school is taking part in their second benchmark assessments. They're being, students K through 6 are being assessed in reading, math, and then this year we've added the writing rubric benchmark, which will happen 3 times a year. The third benchmark is the state test for writing. So the first and second benchmark, we use a state rubric and a sample writing piece from the state, and then the final benchmark will be the state test. And kindergarten registration, that's an interesting thing because we are not getting a lot of phone calls. So if you know of anybody who has a child that will be entering kindergarten in the fall, knock on their door, tell them to give us a call because we don't have a lot of people calling. I know it's still early. The first meeting that we'll have is April 24th, but it's good to get people calling in so we get an idea of the numbers. But it's been a slow drips and drabs coming in. And I think it's been in the newspapers as well. So if you know anybody, please let them know. And also, we have 3 new student teachers that started today. So we welcome 3 new student teachers this year. And actually, we've had, in the time that I've been here, we've had quite a few student teachers because of the STLE grant and the partnership with SUNY Plattsburgh. And that's been a real benefit to both the teachers and the students. And it's nice to have some young new faces in the school. So we welcome 3 new teachers today, 1 at grade 3, 1 at grade 4, and 1 at grade 1.
Okay, any questions?
The treasurer's report reflects the month of December. This is the first month where the disbursements now start to outweigh the receipts. December we have a debt service interest only payment, so that usually accounts for quite a bit there. We're on track with our revenues, cash basis, we're just a little under 50%. That's where we typically fall. No surprises. The CPI came out at the 1.46, so the 2% property tax cap is not 2%, it's 1.46 as the multiplier. And that's
The school lunch fund, though. My reading something wrong, they took in 25,000 more than they put out. Is that?
No, I probably transferred money. We always have a due to, due froms, and transfer of that took place to pay those off.
Okay, one more question, just an information. Our taxes were 10.5%, 10.4% is still out of the.
Right, the collection period's closed. The counties will make us whole April 1st, and actually, that's a little bit higher this year. We collected 89%. Typically, since I've been here, we hovered around 85, 87. So we actually had a better collection period this year.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Vince, could you, I attended that school safety webinar, and I kind of hit the ground in the middle of everything. Are there anything that you would like to share with the board from that, anything you saw as?
The webinar was basically what they've said all along with what we should be doing to prepare for it. I think what Colleen was referring to is we've taken advantage of, like with security updates in the cameras and stuff, we get back through the building aid the next year. We're still trying to do our secured entrance, but there really wasn't anything that I thought that was new that would jump out at us that we haven't heard. You're shaking your head, yeah.
Well, I put it on the board report before we finished. I probably wouldn't put it on the board report because it was a lot of older stuff, and they had a lot of technical difficulties in the beginning.
I think what it was to do or try to do is bring those individuals that hadn't been involved from the beginning up to speed, because Chief was with us with one of his sergeants, and they basically felt the same thing. It was stuff that we'd already seen. So it may have been something that you hadn't been aware of, that you haven't gone through, but oh my God, we've been going through them for how many years now?
And it was more institutional than personal, if that makes sense. It was more about, what a district can do and less about what I can do in the buildings and to teach the kids.
Yep. And along those lines, I forgot all about it, but we have the board meeting prior to the first Saturday of the February break. I can't think of what the date is.
15th.
The 15th. We're going to have an active shooter drill, and Tammy has asked the student council if any of the students want to participate. We've both principals have asked the staff. I'll be here. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Chief and I are going to sit and try to make some scenario up, but the day was pretty open on the calendar. We had found out since then that people hadn't submitted stuff yet, but since I had already committed to the chief, we're going to have an active shooter drill on that date. I don't know who he will involve from the outside agencies, but he said something about wanting to bring the fire department and the EMTs in as well. So hopefully I'll have more details for you at the next board meeting, because I'll be the Tuesday prior to Saturday.
Okay. Keep in mind, if you see a lot of police cars and fire trucks at the school on the 15th, it's just a drill.
You want to set a budget workshop?
Yes.
Okay.
I failed to mention we should set some budget workshop dates.
Okay. Do we have our calendars? Does anyone have specific dates in mind, or?
In the past, I think we usually did like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we tried to stagger it. We also tried to stagger the start times and tried to meet everyone. Okay.
Vince, roughly when do you think we should have the first one?
Oh, that's okay.
We should be able to,
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the February, we should be able to do a presentation at the next board meeting with everything, and then have workshops after that, or with the tax cap and everything.
Yeah, the tax cap, I just, the latest thing is now the building aid differs from
of the
that's
issue,
pretty-
I think, what Beth's talking about, if you recall, we went down to see Carl Thurno to try to get a waiver for our building aid, and that's where you're gonna see the chain of, in the addendum, the change orders. Is everything done with them now, Hong?
We still have that one outstanding issue that I mentioned earlier with the discoloration of the car.
Okay.
Like, we've been contacted by them, I think they want to resolve that, getting the indication.
So we should be okay in be getting that, the number, what she's talking about, so we have to rerun our numbers, and the state's got the wrong number. When I tentatively looked today, they have our building aid way off. But, we should be able to do a presentation, and then after that,
So I'm gonna set the dates there.
I would, well, we can set them now. I think the sooner we put them in, on our calendar, the
Yeah.
better off.
I can get on the paper.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine, I.
So if we're gonna do a presentation on the 11th, then
Yep.
there's a break, is the 24th of February, that Monday, is that too early for the next one?
I won't be home that night until midnight.
So you want to start on Tuesday the 25th?
We can do the first one, I'm okay for the 25th. 7 p.m. And this will be in the auditorium.
So now you want to shoot for Wednesday
Or Monday,
or Monday?
March 10th is a Monday. How's that look for you guys? March 10th is not going to work for Lillian. How about Wednesday that week on the 12th? Is that good for you? 12th works for Lillian?
So Wednesday the 12th?
Okay, March 12th.
And what time?
Shall we do an earlier one? What's the earliest we can do without bumping into 5 p.m.?
We better check the
Or is
calendar
that-
for the play and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
there's play rehearsal, so I think
well, let's do that one.
6 would be the earliest.
We can check on that.
Okay, let's save the date. And then we need one more tentatively, preferably for Monday, maybe March 24th. Sounds good, William? Good? Okay, so let's just set aside those dates tentatively.
And time again?
Let's just call it 7 p.m. for now, and then we'll try to fluctuate a little bit. Maybe we'll do a later one, an 8 p.m. one, just in case people can't make the 7.
We can work on these again, you know, we'll have them now and we'll advertise them
Yeah.
as of the 11th.
We'll lock in those dates.
So Vince, with the budget due April 1st, should we have one after April 1st?
Probably should schedule another one as well. Because it depends on whether or not we get anything from the legislators, because I'm sure that'll be the next thing. So, April,
The first is a Tuesday.
why don't we shoot for Thursday since we haven't hit that on April 3rd?
Okay.
Oh, you're not good on Thursdays? Well,
Monday the 7th.
we're getting close to the vacation as well. Let's see if we can do April the 2nd. If we need to meet next week, we can do it. The 2nd work for everybody? April 2nd would be a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
That's enough time for you to figure out.
By then, we're hopefully getting numbers and it's easier to plug them in. And if we need another one before vacation, we can do that.
Okay, so we'll set that as a,
Those four at this point.
that's February 25th, March 12th, March 24th, and April 2nd. The times tentatively, let's say 7 o'clock, but we'll see if we can move those around a little bit to see if we can increase attendance, make it more flexible so more people can make it. Thanks for the reminder, Beth. Okay, any more from the administrators? Let's move on to board member reports and discussions. Tom, go ahead.
Sure. We had a technology committee meeting. First one was nothing. Steve Butts was involved with the computer-based testing program that the state proposed last year. Pretty much of a poorly thought-out idea, and as a result of input from people like Steve, it's sort of in limbo. Nothing much is happening with it, so it's going to sit there for a while. All the equipment that we have, most of the equipment already that we would need if they did it, but we're using it for other things. Acceptable use policy, this is what the kids have to sign every year to use the internet and email and stuff. A little bit confusing because parents were in the past handed a bunch of papers and their kid, here, sign this, and they were signing 4 or 5 different documents, and at one point parents were finding out that their kids' names couldn't be advertised for honor roll or sports by the school because they signed a form saying they didn't want that to happen when it shouldn't. They really didn't want that. So Tammy and Steve are going to combine a lot of this into one signature the parents have to provide. They've been clear what they're doing. The nice thing about having a well-organized technology group is that the technology wish list this year is pretty small. We're pretty much caught up on a lot of stuff. I think basically the faculty is looking for $33,000 worth of equipment, which isn't much today. So congratulations to Steve and crew for keeping that going. There's going to be a few more security cameras put around. Let's see, we have 40 now, and I think we're going to end up with 45. We won't tell you where. And no problems with Google Drive, student emails, etc. So it was a pretty, not boring, but it was an interesting meeting, but things are going well with technology in the school. So congratulations to everybody out there that's involved with that. That's it.
We had our first communications advisory committee meeting since I've been on the board on January 14th, and this was kind of the extension of the work that had been done so far by the advisory committee. The things we did in the meeting is we elected the chair, Naomi Marsh. We discussed our charge, which I think was pretty clear from my serial conversations with board members that in the past meeting, that it was to take what had been done and turn it into kind of a very clear, specific plan. And so that's our task. We spent a lot of our time discussing whether we thought we needed additional information about communication in both directions, from the school to the community and from the community back to the school. And I think many of us thought that it would be important to get additional information. We discussed ways we might do it. One of the key ways is we all wanted to hear much more from the administration about the things administration does to communicate, how you get feedback back, what you're finding works well and what doesn't work well, and where you think the communication provider committee might be helpful. So that's one of the first things I think we want to do. And we talked to Vince, and Vince, you're talking to administrators, and then we'll talk about that at the next meeting, which is scheduled for January 28th. And a lot of other things but one thing I think that we felt would be valuable, with the board's permission, to have to see whether any other community members would like to join the committee. So we asked, if we can do that, we'd like I would either contact you or contact Naomi, if we think, and we would welcome those that energy to contribute. But so again, our next meeting is January 28th. We will certainly discuss what Vince has learned and begin to map out what we think we need to do to have a plan.
Okay. I would think your membership is the purview of the committee, so go ahead and recruit whoever you need.
We'll do that.
William? Okay. Okay, the one thing I'd like to share was the shared services meeting. This time around, it was very much focused on ACC. There was an administrator from ACC who, as I had indicated earlier, really expressed a strong willingness to work with the districts involved in our little group. I think they do see us as a potential source of revenue, and I don't mean that in any kind of a bad way. I think it's good for them to tap into students who, especially in small rural districts, who are looking for electives and potentially getting college credit early. Like the other colleges that Tammy mentioned, they offer courses at a substantially reduced tuition. So it's like a third of what they'd have to pay if they were attending ACC or one of us were taking similar ACC courses. Where this really falls into play is now that we have our distance learning room here. And I don't know if everybody's seen that. It's just a lovely room, and there's a corresponding one in all the districts in this consortium, and there's a couple at ACC. I think they have 2 or 3. So they're kind of like a portal connecting us to all these other districts and connecting us to ACC. What the administrator had indicated is they're very interested in doing more dual enrollment classes, which I believe are classes that are taught by. He offered a couple scenarios, but I think the dual enrollment is our teacher and and our students who get credit through ACC. However, in order for it to be a credit-bearing class, they need a minimum of 10 students, which is sometimes tough for us to swing, but they're okay, unlike some of the other schools that can't do it. ACC is okay with us combining that. So if we're offering a course, let's say computer programming, that the students would get college credit for, let's say we have an interested maybe 6 kids. If we can get 4 others, even if it's from 2 other districts, and this is done, then all of a sudden this is functional, which really is, it solves quite a few problems for us, and it's flexible enough to do it with a small number, assuming we can get it up to 10 together. So some of the limitations are the teacher qualifications, because they want all teachers, in order for students to get credit from them, all teachers have to live up to their level of qualification. I won't go into the details, but it's fairly rigorous. There's also issues with scheduling, because as Vince has indicated, this is something he's really been working on for years with these guys now, and it's tough. As we enter our own negotiations, it's really hard to just move bell schedules around, especially in other districts, and to get one coordinated. One of the principals there floated the idea of the superintendent floated the idea of like a 7 a.m. class, which everybody felt would be fantastic, because in order to get the credit to ACC, our classes are 40-something minutes long every day. They could do it 3 times a week for an hour, or twice a week for an hour and a half, or once a week for 3 hours. So there is some flexibility to make this work. But we do have to figure out, if not the alignment, then doing early classes, later classes, which then is limiting because we have transportation issues. Obviously, we have to be voluntary. We can't send buses out, at 6:45 to bring the students in for 7 o'clock. So there are limitations, but I just wanted to fill the board in on this as, interesting solutions that are out there. Mentioned the scheduling. Another interesting thing he brought up would be that you can then, especially if you do afternoon classes, you can then even have adults come in to fill out these classes. So somebody who is interested in programming may sit in, which sounded really exciting, but then he said, oh yeah, but that's impossible, because they have some weird rule that if there's a mixture of students and adults, or even, in other words, people who are getting the credits at a discount versus people paying full price, if there's even one full pricer in there, everybody has to pay full price. So that's possible, but it does really negate the advantages to our students. They said they're working on trying to overcome that. So I don't know what that meant. I don't know how realistic that is, but they're trying to overcome that. But that did open up the whole other ideas that we do have this room that is, available much of the day, and they are very willing to hold adult classes. Again, they wouldn't work for the students because of the current fee schedule, but we could be offering, provided there's 10 people, basically any class through their teachers would teach and stream here to the school, so people wouldn't have to travel up to Queensbury, which is also a tricky possibility. Vince and I are going to meet with the Cambridge Library Board tomorrow just to pass that information on with some more details, just to let them know that that availability may be right around the corner, and to coordinate with them a little bit. So that was a very interesting point. The meeting kind of ended with the announcement that they were going to have a couple gentlemen speak about mental health and preventative services. They were going to give a presentation at the next meeting as to some potential sharing there. So really looking forward to that and seeing how that fits into our needs. Okay, we're gonna go right to old business, and first item on the agenda is I'm going to move at the recommendation of the superintendent that we accept policies 5,000 through 5710. This is the third reading. These have been available on the website for review. They've been fully reviewed by the policy committee, and I have a motion to approve them as written. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Item B, we have a second reading, which we're not going to be acting on. These are also policies that have gone through the policy committee. They're policies 6,000 through 7,365E. Quite a variety. These will be available for inspection on the website. We don't need to act on those at all. However, any discussion on that?
On 411, 412, and 415, for the table of contents, we have probably 6,000, 6660E and 6685, and these are revised policies. And Kate, you just said it was spelling?
They were in your packet because it was grammatical errors that was fixed the last report.
So they were
And
typos.
so I put them in your packet so
Yeah.
you see them and the public sees that they're originally written.
Okay. So I think that is it for old business. Moving on to new business, we've got our consent agenda, and we're only going to vote on the part that's in the original agenda. We're going to vote again in a little bit on the addendum consent agenda. So on recommendation of the superintendent, I move we approve the consent agenda as listed. Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to make sure that, when I talk to, Kate, what? Okay, under B and the new business for the consent agenda.
We're not on B yet. We're not on B yet.
No, we're still on just the consent agenda.
Oh, okay, all right.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Matt, if you don't mind, could you explain the think tank club a little bit?
Sure. Do I have to stand up?
No. Relax. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was curious. I read the description, but I just wanted to hear a little bit more.
So we've met a couple times, if that's okay, and I've had between 10 and 18 students show up. And
I hate to say anything, but I can't hear what you're saying.
oh, I'm so sorry. I was standing up in my athletic garden. So we formed this new club, and there seems to be some student interest. And what we want to do is help enhance their critical thinking skills through discussion. Small group discussion, large group discussion, and activities.
Can you give an example of what you might do?
So today I brought in an unusual substance, and I had them examine the properties of it and create ways that we could use this unusual substance, had they discovered it themselves. We'll look at proverbs or poems and interpret them and discuss them. I know that's being done in English classes, but it's a little bit looser here. controversial issues. I don't know. It's still open. I mean, I eventually want to have student leaders choose the topics, and I'm sort of there to coordinate things and to make sure everything's under control. I really think it should be led by students, and organized by students. We're still in the thinking mode.
My eyes went, whoa, that sounds really neat.
Well, I was approached by parents about this because there's not a lot of time sometimes in the classroom to have deep discussions with focused on tests, and so I hope there's an opportunity after school.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Now we'll move on to B. Item B is a State Environmental Fire Review Act. I'm not going to read the whole item, but I'm going to move that we accept it as written, and it essentially, you don't have to read it?
No, we want to delete that one line.
Right, minus the one line that I think we've been emailed. So we strike line number 4 where it says construction costs to be paid through the general fund. That's eliminated because there are no construction costs.
Correct.
What this basically indicates is that there is no environmental impact, which is what we're certifying. So on the superintendent's recommendation, I move we approve this with the one change.
This involves the solar panels, correct? You don't have to do it.
Thank you, Tom. Yep. This is for the installation of the solar panels. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item C. On recommendation of the superintendent, I move that we grant Tammy Silvernell, holding a professional certification as school building leader, that she be appointed to tenure in the tenure area of high school principal effective March 16, 2014.
We'd love to second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Item D is a first reading of policies 8,000 through 9,700. Is that the rest of them? Or are there a few more?
It is the rest, but there might be a couple of housekeeping items.
Okay, that's fine. That's a first reading, and they will be available on the school website for review.
So I blasted through them pretty quickly, okay?
Uh-oh.
About 45
No,
typos and 13
no.
commas.
What I would like to ask, and we don't even, you know, but two questions. Again, I apologize. I've
No,
been
no.
out of this for a while. So my two questions are the process by which they were developed. I apologize. And the second is, sure. My two questions were the process by which they were developed, and then which of them deviates significantly from what we do now. And if you want to, you know, we don't have to have answers. You know, we can also make that kind of discussion out of the next board meeting. But
Well, I'll answer your questions. The first question is relatively easy. When we started this 2 years ago, one of the things we considered was to just do it ourselves, and it's a huge amount of work, and it's quite glacial, and we really, you know, as board members, we really don't have the legal knowledge in the background to make a lot of the decisions from scratch. So the board decided to hire the NISBA legal service to help us prepare basically a structure for us, which we then reviewed. And at all the meetings, everybody had, well, not everybody, but most of us had the old one, yellow, and the new one, and we basically went through item by item. So the second part of your question is which ones significantly changed. Most of them, I think the majority of them have not changed significantly. Most of them have cleaned up. However, some of them have changed significantly. Some of them are completely new, things that we should have had that we didn't have. Some of them are things that we no longer needed and are now gone. And I think the best way, one of the reasons we do the 3 readings, we don't really have a legal obligation to do it, but we like to do it this way, is so that we have time. So what I would recommend is we still have copies of the original ones, they'll stay numerically organized. And then, I hate to tell you, but there's no easier way to do it, is if you want to do what we did, which is just the.
Well, I think I also need to ask for some advice on that point.
Right.
But the problem is we revised them, but then we didn't go back and say this one's noticeably different from the old one. This is new. A lot of it reflected change in school law that we had to revise our policies.
We sent all of them back to NISBA for them to go through and make sure that if we did make a change.
No, and I've looked at lots of their model policies, and I think they're very, very good. I just want to know what's significantly different. We don't, we can maybe discuss that at the next meeting, we can have some
Absolutely.
conversations between now and then.
Absolutely. We've pretty much stuck to the committee's recommendation, but ultimately it's this board's responsibility to set the policy. So
Right.
if there's any specifics that any of us have to go over, some of the boilerplate language or some of the changes or some of the, rejected policies, then we certainly should discuss that and amend it prior to acting on it.
And the committee consisted of superintendent, building principals, all 5 board members, representatives from the faculty, and representatives from the CSEA. So, and I don't know that we had any students. It's the only party that wasn't represented.
Right. Okay, moving on to the addendum, we're on item 9, new business, the second consent agenda. I'm going to move on recommendation of the superintendent that we approve the amended consent agenda as listed. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. No. We should thank,
Yes,
that's right.
donations.
There were 2 donations on this list.
The score table and 36 padded chairs, double-tiered sports cards. So thank you to the Booster Club. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. I'm going to ask that we group items F through L into one vote. I haven't made that motion yet, but they're all change orders with the same contractor. There's various increases and decreases, but it comes out to a net decrease to the district of $398. So do I have consent to group those into one vote? Thank you. I move on recommendation of the superintendent that the board approve change orders F through L as indicated on the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Motion passed 4-0. At this time, I would invite any additional public comment. Okay. Prior to adjourning, I'm going to make a motion to go back into executive session. We do not anticipate taking any action in executive session. We will end the meeting when we come out. We're not sure how long we'll be in. So I move that we convene executive session to discuss the performance of a particular staff member and possible disciplinary action. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, everyone.